once again to discuss things.
It is I, the one, the only.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am your host, Sid Part 2, and joining me is the one and the only...
Sid Part 2.
Oh, damn it, I was going to say, even Brit Without Fear on Geek for Fun. I have two names, and you didn't use either of them.
No, you fucked up the intro. Like, I love just putting all the pressure on the co-host. It's so much fun. Yeah, so here we are for another character discussion, and Alfie, who's now Sid Part 3, I guess, has chosen the character. Who are we discussing, sir?
First of all, that's Sid Part 2 Beyond, and second... we're going to be discussing Dr. Ivo Robotnik, or Eggman as he's known these days.
Okay, so let's start with the controversial part. Eggman or Robotnik?
Robotnik, just because it sounds, even though both names are ridiculous, it just sounds somewhat more intimidating and like an actual name. But I do like Eggman being what Sonic calls him, so I'm fine with both.
Yeah, that's the thing that always got me when I kind of got back into the Sonic fandom, like dipped my toe into it in my early 20s. I was like, wait, everyone calls him Eggman? Wasn't that like supposed to be an insult? And I go back and I look at the first time that the word Eggman appeared in American translations. It's totally a fucking insult. Why is he going with it?
He just owned it.
I know, and like that actually, what's weird about it is he just goes with it, and no one really bats an eye. But really, you had so much potential for just like a whole game for everyone to be calling him Eggman and him to be like, no, I'm Robotnik. And then for like the scene where he makes a big evil speech about all the evil he's gonna do, and he's like, I, Dr. Eggman. Wait, shit. Like if everyone just got it so universal that he slipped into it too, it could have been so good. And they just don't do that. It's too bad.
They're normally quite good at the meta humor, surprisingly, in Sonic, so you think they would have gone with that. But I guess the point is like they did it because they wanted to get ahead of, oh shit, Sonic Adventure just included dialogue. We're gonna have to now start matching the Japanese law that we've ignored up to this point. Okay, fuck it, throw the name in here somewhere, so now when giant Eggman stand like light shows appear, we don't have to try and justify why he's suddenly calling himself Eggman.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that weird thing of Robotnik was just completely the American side of the invention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a better name. I'm sorry, it just is. I have nothing to really back it up besides it just sounds better. I get he's not like a real villain, he's like a cartoony, silly villain, but still, it's a better name.
It kind of vibes with his gimmick more as well, because yes, especially in the classic design, he's got that egg shape, but he's more into robots. Eggs aren't really part of his shtick.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like the egg dragoon and stuff, but no, he really does have more robot things going on. Of course, the animated series that everyone loves except me, made him like really, really creepy, and like he was roboticizing people, and that was a really cool idea. Yeah, I think they really could have gone places with if they stuck with Robotnik. If the Japanese side was like, oh yeah, actually that's really cool, let's keep that. But nope, just nope.
Yeah, but I think that's maybe a good place to start with this is how threatening do you like your Eggman? Because he's kind of been every which way. Like, he's been every extreme, from like completely ridiculously non-threat to like, holy crap, he's a dictator.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Where it's like, he really should probably be more threatening because then he would jive better with all of the Sonic villains we use anyway. You know, you got your Shadow, you got your Perfect Chaos. What else? We got Dark Gaia.
Mephiles.
Yeah, like everything else is like super hard, edgy, out there, and harsh. And Eggman has now kind of just become a cartoon, like, wahaha, I'm so stupid and not really a threat, but I'm taking over the world every other week. And it's like, well, we probably shouldn't be getting our comedy so much from you, because you're our most consistent threat. Like, why are you the silly one in the wheelhouse of villains that we get? What was the other one? Fucking, shit, what is the one in Forces?
Infinite.
Yeah, Infinite.
My infinite power. Ooh, ah!
Yeah, pretty much. It does feel like he's kind of out of place being the jokey villain, you know?
Yeah, it's like he goes through. You see him in the classics, and he's always kind of there to be thwarted, but he's never really. His defeat is never really his own fault. It's just Sonic being so competent, and that's why he fails. But a lot of once we start getting into adventure, it starts turning into he thinks he's better than he is, and it starts fucking him over, which gives him a bit more character, you could say, but also starts to diminish his ability to be taken seriously. Because then once you keep adding to that, when he keeps doing the same mistake over and over, he never learns from his mistake with Chaos, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be dealing with powers out of my control. That there's never a twist where Eggman is the one who controls the beast and fully tames it or something. He's always just a bit of that joke. Yeah, I guess. But then even
that was one of my favorite Sonic shorts was, and the Time Eater. It's, holy shit, it's not betraying me. This is amazing. Yeah. And like, it's not that the goofy characterization doesn't work, because god damn if Sonic Boom's take on Eggman doesn't crack me the fuck up. Like that is pretty damn funny. Like, everything in that show is hilarious, but the way they write Eggman is great. Like, I remember this whole bit he has about eating a cookie that you thought was chocolate chip, but turns out it was raisin, and so you think you ate a bug. And it's just such like a specific example of a thing that he brings up that it's so goofy, you know? That take on him, I think, worked really well because they're really leaning into it and everybody's in on the joke and no one's serious or an actual threat except for Shadow, which is hilarious in and of itself. That worked a lot better.
Yeah, it's like Sonic always struggles to find a tone, and I think Eggman's like one of the ones who suffers from that as a result. Because, yes, Bowser is the next big example of the overarching villain in every game. Yes, Bowser's been played for laughs more and more as he's continued, but he's also the only threat, really. And his final encounters are always just from Mario, like, taking him out or something. So even when he's doing the tennis and stuff, or he constantly can't capture Peach, he's kind of got this lovable factor to him despite him being a tyrant, because Mario as a whole never does go that dark, whereas Sonic sometimes does want to push the boundaries of that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But because Eggman's still so cartoonish, it falls flat a little. It doesn't quite work as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the distinction there. It's like, when he's written well, he's Robotnik. When he's written silly, he's Eggman. And they've just kind of leaned more and more into the silly. Because, like, I don't love Sonic, the animated series, Sat AM, the good one. I don't love it or anything. I actually prefer the, like, Looney Tunes-esque take that came out, like, a year earlier. But, Robotnik in that is legitimately terrifying.
Yeah, his voice actor is crazy good.
Yeah, it's the voice, the, like, slinking around animations. He's, like, constantly floating in a chair and all this stuff.
Oh, I sleep! yes, very good. Like it's just like, holy fuck.
Yeah. And then like
Jaleel White has to fight this guy.
Exactly, and it just the tone that when you make Sonic a freedom fighter, it works better for him as opposed to like it's so fucking weird in Adventure when he's like working with the government or whatever, or alongside the government and shit, and it's just like, stop. It doesn't. It's weird. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit the edgy tone. But like when Sonic's a rebel fighting along a cause, and Eggman's this Robotnik's this big tyrannical dictator kind of force, it works really well. Except in Sonic Forces. But like that tone, and that might be part of the problem with Sonic Forces. Is we've made Robotnik / Eggman too cartoony, so that him actually taking over the world just feels kind of shallow at this point.
Yeah, it's like we gave him his ultimate victory, and it meant nothing in the grand scheme. So where do you go from here? Like he's no matter, you can't top that. So he's always going to be a joke because you made his big win. Like he's been torturing Sonic for months, and Sonic's not bothered at all because knowing this version's Eggman's idea of torture, it probably wasn't anything serious at all. It's like you just shot yourself in the foot. That will never be able to take him as a serious threat.
And I'm of the opinion that Sonic games are better without a story. But if you're going to do it, I'm going to have to sit here and point out, like, okay, well, here's where you went wrong. And really, that's where they went wrong, is the story where Robotnik took over the world successfully. That should have been your adventure. That should have been your first big foray into the voice acting and storytelling stuff. And spending better part of 2 decades making him into a joke, when he takes over the world, what's the threat? It's pretty easy to beat him at that point. The game where Robotnik takes over the world is the game where he's not the main villain.
Right.
That's weird.
It's just a choice, I feel like. Because if we go to the inception of him as like when it's just Sonic and Robotnik, like Sonic the Hedgehog 1, you have a very much implication that this is just a completely natural world, and then this one human guy is the only person who ever looks like this in the entire universe up to that point. Is the guy who's in bringing technology into this world, and he's corrupting nature and everything. And that's a serious threat because it's like legitimately changing Sonic's way of life. And how the first game and like later games normally do that is they show that through the level design. Is you start off in the most natural area, like Green Hills or so, and then you end in like Scrap Brain Zone, where everything's metal and and the difficulty's gotten harder as a result. Is you make Robotnik's threat as you get closer to him into the game design. And it helps as well that you're constantly fighting him and he's constantly improving. And yes, you can take this guy down and stuff. But I feel like out of nearly every video game villain ever, like Robotnik's got so much fucking resources. Like he is a genius. Like no one can take that away from him no matter what game you put him. Just for the sheer quantity of shit he puts out, given how fast Sonic... Like to put this into perspective for people, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 takes place right after Sonic 2. So in the space between the Death Egg crashing, he has managed to build an entirely new army, or has already had that on reserve. Like, holy shit.
And that's one of the cool things of, like, the idea that maybe he's already taken over the whole world, and Sonic's just fighting for, that last little thing. That's such a cool, like, kind of implication in the background. And you kind of immediately lose that once you take them off Mobius and put them on Earth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't have that anymore because now we have cities, and it's really fun to do the parkour inspired stuff and run around a city as Sonic. But at the same time, I feel like there had to be a better way to do it than putting them literally on Earth. You know?
The best version of that I've seen in concept for how you meld those two ideas is the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA movie, where I'm not like a particularly fan of that movie. I like some of the art style and some of the action in that. But when they go to like the surface world of that area, and it's just Earth, it's just New York City, but it's like a dystopian New York City, and like everything's got like destroyed and everything. I really liked the idea, and it was a fan theory for a while before like Adventure came out. I like the idea that Sonic is set in like the future, or a future where Eggman has devised a way, or Robotnik, because he's be more serious, had taken over the world of humans and had wiped them all out. And like they're all dead but him, and he's like discovered to elongate his life or something through making himself part machine. And now the animals have had enough time to evolve and stuff, and they've managed to fight back, and that's where Sonic. And I like that as a status quo because it immediately makes him a threat. But the one thing he didn't account for was like the animals, and that's where Sonic comes in and stuff. I like that idea for a video game series, and would like them to play with that a little bit more, especially because you kind of get some of that implication in like Adventure 2 with like he's got a lineage where his grandfather was doing this shit as well by creating Shadow, and like that's a whole thing.
Yeah, and like that could maybe also work into the resources thing if he's like, if his family is like the Empire kind of thing. He's like the Egg Empire or some shit.
He's Fat Palpatine.
Yeah, he's Fat Palpatine with a mustache. Say what you will about Robotnik, but you gotta respect the mustache game. That thing's like 3 foot long. Yeah, like that could maybe be a cool thing. I guess at this point we're just making Sonic fan fiction though. So at what point are they gonna bang?
Wow, I mean, look, past Robotnik and future Robotnik, we're stuck in that Sonic Generations white timescape for a long time. I think the
and
fan
a
fiction
man
writes
gets
itself.
lonely.
A man gets lonely.
Yeah, and I mean it'd been years since he'd seen his own penis, and this was a unique way to do it.
If you fuck your younger self.
I mean, yeah. Transition out of that one. So let me ask you this: do you prefer, like because obviously I think it's too late to go back unless we just do a full reboot. Do you prefer the more wacky, goofy thing that we've got, or would you like to do a full reboot and get the Robotnik, like darker, Sat AM inspired style?
See, I don't think we need to go that far, because I feel like Sonic storytelling is, I don't know, I think maybe I'm halfway between where you are and where like we are currently in the Sonic fandom, where I don't think we need no story, because from Sonic 3 we've had cutscenes and they worked fine. It's just there was no dialogue and stuff. You didn't need it. It's the same way as like Metroid or something. You tell your story through like segments between the levels. You don't need to have a story, like you don't have to have voice acting for it to tell a story. I think that's where Sonic's at its best. I think Sonic doesn't need to talk, and Eggman doesn't need to talk either, because there's such animated characters to begin with. You can get everything you need to know from him just like cackling in like that tone. So I don't think you need to go so far as to make him cracking jokes and stuff, but at the same time I don't think you need to make him a complete bastard. I think you can get away with keeping there's a line between Set AM and where we are, where it's just like the Sonic Mania shorts or something, where like he's goofy and Sonic can have jokes with him and he's like entertaining to watch, but at the same time he's like really fucking driven and just wants this little blue shit dead. Like, and that's where the humor comes from. The humor doesn't come from the fact that he's kind of frenemies with Sonic. The humor comes from that this guy cannot kill this hedgehog, and this hedgehog's so fucking cool, and he can't stand it because he has an army, and this is the one thing he can't stop. He goes fast. How are you keep? Oh, now you've got a little friend with 2 tails. How can't I kill you? That's inherently funny. It's the same kind of idea of like a guy in the backyard who can't like kill a fly, but it's this tiny insignificant thing that this normal person should be able to take out instantly, but they're just too fast and they can't get them. The person isn't incompetent. It's just the fly's so fucking good. I think that's what Eggman represents. Is you can have in any other thing, he'd be a legitimate. Like if he existed in the DC universe, with his resources and army, he'd be a legitimate fucking threat because he's just got sheer quantity and he's so intelligent. Because he's in Sonic's universe and Sonic can blow through his levels in like speed runs, all his wealth and all his resources don't mean shit because Sonic destroys it so fast.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way to look at it, is there is a comfortable middle ground that you could put him in, and then you could do your more serious threats, or you could do more kind of goofy threats than Robotnik. And that could be maybe a good like compromise to have, you know? What do you think about his design and how it's evolved? How he did go from being really just, you know, obviously the graphical limits on the system had to be considered, but he did go from being very egg-shaped, and they had to deal with that in the animated shows and kind of try to polish it up or make it look better, or more believable in some way, shape, or form, to becoming very, you know, he's much more human, and now he's just got like kind of a rounded belly, you know?
Yeah, I feel out of all the classic designs, I feel like Eggman's current one is the one that did the job the best, because it's still very simple and it's still very sleek, and it fits in very art style, but it also does look more threatening, and like it looks like a legitimate thing someone would wear. I think I really do like his adventure design onwards, because there's like it looks more like a scientist. It looks more fitting for his character of like this guy who can take over the world and has this army, but is also, you can poke fun at him, like his insecurities. Whereas the classic design, with it's simple, it's beautiful, it works well for that with the little cape and everything, but it is very bare. Whereas the animal characters can get away with that because they're animal characters and they're meant to be moving fast. So you can do still cope with them in motion. But because Eggman's genuinely just going to be standing around or sitting in like a mech for most of his time, you can kind of give him a little more detail than the rest of them, and I think you can get away with it. So I definitely think his design is one of the things that maybe his character hasn't evolved so well, but I definitely think his design did a good job.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I do like the more modern take. Like, it was... As much as I love Generations, that final boss fight section is a bit weird to see that version of Robotnik animated proper with modern techniques, you know?
Yeah, he looks like a Pokeball.
yeah, that it did just feel like really, yeah, you used, I think the word you used was really good, bare. It felt very very unrefined in a number of ways. It worked for the time, and I think, yeah, again, when you go back to like your Sad AMs, your Sonic the Animated Series, when it was like really Looney Tunes-esque, I think they translated that pretty well, and he's like really short, stumpy, and he's got like the kind of overly pointy head and stuff. I thought they translated that well and did interesting things with it, but as we've modernized the design, it's kind of like almost perfected. Like Mario's 3D design pretty much hasn't changed since the GameCube. He's pretty much like streamlined and just about as perfect as you can get. And I feel like we've pretty much reached that with Robotnik, because like there's differences in his design between the mainline continuity games and like the Sonic Boom show, but they're really subtle. We're talking a couple like color swap things here and there, and like maybe just generally some of the shapes of the head, you know? Mm-hmm. It's really, really polished and refined at this point,
which I think is a good, because that's the thing with Sonic, is he is forever been the one example of that makes it not a complete, like, you can never do a Sonic universe where everything's an animal just because Eggman is the outlier and he has to exist. And that always begs the question since the beginning game, like, all right, where are the other humans? And we've had different attempts and stuff to bring Sonic into a more humanoid setting. Like Sonic Unleashed did a good job by making it very Pixar-esque, but it still didn't feel Sonic. It felt like someone else was bringing their cartoons into this Sonic universe. But Eggman, as he is now, is a very good representation of, like, okay, this is what this art style looks like on what's meant to be a person.
I think that works pretty well. Okay, we're about 5 minutes away, so let's address the elephant in the room. Jim Carrey.
Just from that final shot in the trailer, which is probably just going to be how the movie ends, I think it's good casting, and if they just stuck with that in the first place, I could see it working for, like, the Mike Pollock wacky Eggman. I think it'd be fine. Or even if you wanted to do, like, a more serious take, I think he pulls the classic Eggman, like, who's kind of goofy. I could see Jim Carrey wearing that classic Eggman outfit, which is the giant balloon. But apart from that, and his line delivery and everything, I mean, he's just Jim Carrey.
I mean, pretty much. To be fair, like, since the Riddler, has Jim Carrey played a villain?
Not to my recollection. You could say he's played villains, people with morals who should be villains.
What's that in reference to? Shit.
I don't know. Ace Ventura's kind of an ass.
Okay. Hot takes coming out here. Yeah, and it'll be interesting because I don't know why does Jim Carrey keep getting cast as, like, a super intellectual villain? Is there any reasoning for that? Because he did it for
I don't know.
And now he's Robotnik. It's weird. But yeah, like, he's playing a very, like, over the top, which of course he is because he's Jim Carrey. And you gotta try to remember that the movie's for kids, but still, he's got a level of confidence that I don't know if I associate with Eggman. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe with Robotnik, but I'm not so sure about Eggman. Like, that. To be fair, we've only seen the trailer. But, like, that whole scene where he's, like, telling that military guy that he needs to shut up and he's not in charge, I'm like, that doesn't seem like Robotnik's style to me, you know?
Yeah, he always comes across to me as the reason why he wants an army of robots and everything, because that's where he's comfortable. Like, even in his most villainous, he just kind of likes to be left alone and be quiet. Like, he doesn't like shit bothering him. He's very much a recluse, or like just someone who wants to just do his work and doesn't want any distractions, because the outside world and, like, nature and everything, it's uncontrollable, it's unquantifiable, and therefore it's wrong. He likes math, statistics, and everything. He's very Dr. Octopus-esque character in that regard, and that's why Sonic's a great foil to him. Because Sonic lives for that. Sonic doesn't like order in the slightest. It bores him. And that's why they are such, like, diametrically opposed, because Sonic's all confidence and Eggman can't handle that because he's a nerd while this jock's walking in and, like, making him seem, like, embarrassed because he can't stop him. You have Jim Carrey sauntering in and, like, owning the place. It doesn't very much feel like that's what he'd do. It feels like if Eggman came on to see him at a military base, he'd either kill them all or he just kind of walk off with his head down while he's to look and just get to his lab.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I'd say, to me, Robotnik, like, around other people in that case, I think he'd be more, like, schemy and, like kind of play people a bit more. I feel like that's more in line with Robotnik, and as far as how he interacts with people. Because, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but isn't there a game where he's working with the government? Isn't there something like that where he's working with the government, or kind of like playing the government or something?
I know in Sonic Adventure 2 he's kind of playing the government a little bit.
Yeah. And then
he blackmails the president.
Yeah. And, like, you got your 06, and when he bursts on the scene in that, he is very overconfident, and he is kind of living it up because he knows he just knows that he's in charge right now and everything. And so maybe Sonic 06 was the only thing Jim Carrey did for research.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry, guys. We've sent him a game to let him know what the story is. Oh, cool. What game did you send him? Oh, we just got the first one. It said Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh no.
Oh man. Yeah, something like that would probably I can see it. It's a weird thing to show in the trailer, right? Like, it's a weird thing to market it off of that.
Yeah.
If that's not going to be representative. Like, the other, they're smaller, but the other moments we got of him in the trailer, I was like, okay, yeah. It's like, is that the best you can do? In fact, no. Thank you for asking. I could kind of see that. That's an Eggman-esque response, I'd say. There's some malice behind it. It's got the confidence. I can believe that part of it. It is on the fence for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still gonna love everything about that movie so much. It is easily gonna be one of my top 10 movies of all time. I already know.
And they're making us wait longer and longer for it because they know how good it is.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, we can't release this in September. We got to push the date back because this can be the greatest movie ever made. God, I'm actually glad they did that. Just because I don't know if I'll have the opportunity to talk about it again. I'm actually glad they did that because. Yeah, I'm both glad and heartbroken. I'm glad because the people that have to do the actual work, a 6-month deadline for recreating the hero character is fucking impossible, and they would have died. So I'm glad that that's not going to happen. At the same time, I'm also a little upset because it would have been a total Sega move to remake it in 6 months and have it end up looking worse. I was talking to people at work, like, imagine if they get the model and the model looks good, but they can't recreate any of the animations with him. So, like, he talks and moves his head and everything, but the rest of the time he's just in fucking T-pose.
Oh my god. A true Sonic game experience.
Right?
I also mentioned something like that. It was just like, wow, the first team racing delays the game to make sure it's right, and now the movies delay the movie to make sure it's right. Is Sonic Team the only fucking property working on Sonic the Hedgehog that doesn't know the meaning of delay things to get it right?
Oh no, they clearly don't, because Sonic Boom. Do you think they finally learned their lesson on that, or is this a discussion for another time?
Well, like, Big Red Bird made that. It was a Sonic Team. It was their attempt to give it to a Western developer who was like, they'd worked on like some Crash Bandicoot and Uncharted games, and that turned out how that did.
Well, so you're right. I guess I just mean more in general Sega then.
Well, Sonic Forces came out after that, and while it's not as big of a disaster, it does very much feel undercooked. So a part of me thinks they'll never learn. How after 06, how can you not decide to completely fix your brand? And they tried to, but like, what? Okay, so you have an unmitigated disaster in 06 where like completely almost destroys your franchise. Well, how do you bring back fan response? Oh, in this one, Sonic's gonna be a werehog. Like, that's their immediate next thought. And I don't know how you can have that as like a safe move. So no, I honestly don't think they'll ever learn their lesson. This is what we're gonna have to suffer with forever.
That's good to hear. Since you mentioned Unleashed, the more I think about it, you got Forces, you got Sad AM. Shit, you gotta give some credit to him in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Eggman actually kind of gets ahead of the game a lot. I guess I never really thought about it that way, but like, for as incompetent as he comes off and for as much as Sonic just trashes him, I get he's the antagonist, he's got the script on his side, but really, Eggman gets the better of Sonic a lot.
Yeah, two of my favorite scenes with him. The first one is Adventure 2, where he's got like Amy hostage, and he's like, "Oh yeah, stand on there, Sonic." And Sonic's like, I've tricked you because it's the fake Emerald. He's like, "No, I knew that. I knew you were gonna do that, and now I've got you, and you're fucking dead." And Sonic has to pull a Chaos Control out of his ass, which is bullshit. But like, all contents purposes, if this was Sonic before that game, who didn't know how to do that because he saw Shadow do it, he'd fucking kill him. That he would have completely had him dead. Like, that is a legit good move from Eggman. And then you've got the opening cutscene from Unleashed, which is beautiful, but it ends with Super Sonic staring down Eggman, and Eggman manages to take out Super Sonic and steal the Chaos Emerald from him because he knows how to play Sonic. He knows how fucking cocky he is. Those are the two moments where I think, yeah, this is why I like him a lot more than Bowser, because he understands his opponent on a character level and he can exploit it.
Yeah, I think that's really the way in which it works the best. That's a really good point. All right, well, I guess we'll go on to recommendations. What do you recommend for Robotnik? I guess I'll say Sad AM.
This whole time you've been saying you don't really like it.
I mean, I like it fine. It's just everyone else loves it, and I think it's just okay. You know?
Right.
Like, yeah, it's generic, superhero-y kind of thing, but it works, I guess, is kind of my take. But I'm like, and I'm the only one who likes the Looney Tunes show. I don't get it. That's it. So I guess, yeah, Sad AM. I mean, he gets the win in Forces. You gotta respect the hustle. And the opening cutscene of Unleashed is like the best Sonic thing ever. It's unfortunate it sucks.
Yeah. For my hand, I say Adventure 2 is the one game you can play as him. So I feel like his levels in that are definitely better than Tails' ones with the mech, and it make a lot more sense for him to be in the mech. So I think he's fun in that. And you can have him in the Chow Garden, which is amazing. And then for maybe, in terms of just like Sonic Boom is just hilarious writing in that. If you look up anything that Mike Pollock does with Eggman, and like for fans and stuff, he's a really genuine guy. He's like really funny with the character. You can tell he's got a love for it. So any stuff, think that guy voices Eggman in. So like that's all the modern games. And I guess if you want like the most Eggman 1 scenario, the Sonic the Hedgehog comics, or like either the UK version or the American Archie one, they have entire arcs based on like dystopian scenarios where Sonic's like killed and they have to go back in time to stop it, and it gives you a glimpse of what he does after he's killed him and stuff. That's kind of interesting.
Okay, cool. Well, Effie, fun as always, man.
Always, yeah, definitely enjoyed this one.
All right. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm a geek for fun.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.